Green New Deal, and I have nothing against
And with
Markey.
Medicare for all as well. And
Yeah, I have nothing against Markey for that. Look, I support Warren in the presidential run. I support Medicare for all now. I was open more to a public option, but I support Medicare for all. I'm perfectly fine with the Green New Deal. I'm not anything
wait,
against Markey
when did
on
you
those
did
two.
not support Warren in the primary?
When did I not? After she did the thing with Bernie, she was desperate. I did not like that. That's wrong to do to Bernie. Bernie would never say that to her about, oh, I don't
Yeah,
want a
yeah,
woman
yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah.
president.
That's for definitely sure. But I
That's
think
wrong.
you were mostly Biden for throughout the primary.
Well,
I would
afterwards,
say.
yeah. After that, I was, yeah, because like, who else am I going to choose from? I mean, if I liked Warren and I didn't really care for Bernie in the first place, I'm not going to go to Yang or to Kamala or to all these other fraudsters who supposedly supported Medicare for all. I'm not
Yeah, I
saying
mean,
Biden did.
there's a lot of different things. Like if you can put, yeah,
I mean,
I
I
think
probably would have still voted for Warren, if I had the option to vote in the primary. Even though I didn't necessarily support her, I still would have voted probably for her because I did like her policies, and I still do. I still to this day. Like, look, if this was Warren versus Kennedy, I would wholeheartedly support Warren without a doubt, because there's no reason to not support Warren. Warren is a great person. She's done a lot for Massachusetts. She's also done a lot for the country. She's really delivered the second she hit Washington's doorstep. Markey, on the other hand, he's had a really horribly mixed record in regards to war, in regards to trade, in regards to bank regulation, the Dodd-Frank Act. This guy voted to repeal it in 2017. What? Is this guy a corporatist or something? Freaking Manchin. There were only a couple Democrats who voted to repeal it. It was Manchin. What's the guy from Alabama?
Doug
The guy
Jones.
from Doug Jones, Bill Nelson, um, Dianne Feinstein, Kamala Harris, Kirsten, Chuck, and then I believe the last one was White House from Rhode Island.
Huh.
And Markey voted
And
with them.
that's very interesting but it doesn't. I mean, it seems like I don't know.
And Joe Kennedy, by the way, did not vote. He was in the House at the time for the repeal. He voted against the repeal, just so you know. So that on the record, Kennedy was a lot better on bank regulations because he was in the House in 2017. And that did go through the House before it went through the Senate. And that ended up getting repealed, sadly, because at the time, Republicans had control of the House and the Senate, and
Yeah.
Trump was president. But then also in regards to the other thing I also like, this is why I liked Kennedy in this race, because this is something that people asked me a lot whenever I made phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Kennedy because whenever I would call someone in Western Massachusetts, they would say I'm undecided because I've seen Joe out here more than Ed. And I've seen him come out here and really kind of discuss about how he wants to be for a community. That's part of the reason why. One of the main reasons why, however, is because I don't trust Ed Markey in a critical time in our history. How can I trust a man who said that he thought it was ludicrous, as he said, or lucrative is the quote that was taken at the time when he voted against a capital gains tax in the House? How can I trust a guy when he, not even that long ago, 3 years ago, voted to repeal major bank regulation that is really helping quite a lot of people? How can I trust a guy who voted for the Iraq War? Even more into recent votes, this man is taking more super PAC money than Joe Kennedy, and on top of it, he refused to sign his own pledge that Kennedy asked him 4 times if he would be willing to sign 4.
About that, I think I've had a very tough time finding. And I looked pretty deeply through the open secrets,
Yeah.
but I did not find too much about that super PAC. But maybe I'm not looking in the right place. But
Which super PAC?
the thing I see was like anyone associated with Markey. Let's see.
Markey is getting $800,000 in super PAC
United
money
from
according to Open Secret.
Massachusetts, a new federal PAC. Okay, here we say. A new super PAC forming the environmental advocates backing U.S. Senator Edward Markey's re-election campaign.
That's not on that's not on Open Secrets under PACs. That's usually under industries, which is it's under a better category. Like the PAC on Open Secret are the PACs that are typically like not really ideologically oriented. Like the ideological ones, I'm perfectly fine with.
But
this man is taking
wouldn't say
661,000 in business PACs. That is not okay. That is not progressive. That's more than, by the way, that's more than Kennedy. I'm going to go to Kennedy right now and say here, because the fact of the matter is, Spencer, look, even if
I'm not on the Open Secrets now. I'm going to go into the PACs.
Yeah. Look, okay, so business, Kennedy is taking 151,000. That is not fine with me, but it's much better than 661,000, which is 54% of Markey's PAC breakdown. Ideological for Kennedy is actually the most, unlike for Markey businesses. These are not progressive things. Now, look, I'm not saying Kennedy is the best. I'm saying Kennedy is a lot better than Markey in regards to where he gets his money, his previous votes, and in regards to where I trust him. I trust Joe Kennedy a lot more on making the critical votes than Markey, especially on votes.
I think Markey has been. I think he's made himself much bigger as a progressive in terms of putting himself out there
on two things, not on bank regulation, not on war votes, not on broadband access, not on many things. I mean, he doesn't even look. If he is so much of a progressive, then why didn't he sign the damn PAC agreement that Kennedy approached him 4 times about?
I think
because
honestly,
he would lose without.
This is why we need to have Chase here, because I don't know anything about this race pretty much other than that Markey supported the Green New Deal and supports Medicare for all.
Fine.
And I'm not saying that you're not, but I think that one of the biggest things is that he put himself out there for the Green New Deal. And why is Joe Kennedy challenging this guy who, I mean, I think he's been relatively popular. He's more popular than, if I could.
No, Kennedy is much more popular.
He's more popular than Elizabeth Warren in his. Well, I mean, we're about to find out. We're in the process of finding out who's more popular in the state at the moment. And it looks right now, Markey does seem to be.
Well, he's losing that round actually. So speaking of who's going in the right way,
45.2.
Kennedy's going the right way right now, so I'm happy about that. 9% difference to 12, like we saw before. But going back to what I was saying, name recognition-wise, Markey actually slacks a lot. Also, in regards to why Joe Kennedy is running because Markey he's like an Elliot Engel. And I know you're probably going to say, wow, look at me, I support Elliot Engel. But, I support Elliot Engel over Bauman because I thought Elliot Engel had a little more experience. I have nothing against Bauman. I wholeheartedly support him now. I wish him luck in Washington in November. I have nothing against him now.
Yeah.
I just thought that having someone with that senior really isn't bad in the House, especially since this guy supported Green New Deal and Medicare for all. Now, however, if Elliot Engel was like, Richard Neal, wholeheartedly would throw my support behind Bauman. This is nothing about having an incumbent win. I just think that Engel did represent the district well. Now, however, I did not like the fact that he didn't have to show up in the district a lot. And that's exactly what Markey is doing. Markey only comes to Massachusetts 30% of the time, according to a government watchdog group. Kennedy is the second highest. He comes back to his district 70% of the time when he is not obligated to be in Washington. He's the second highest in all the Massachusetts delegation. Elizabeth Warren is a little lower at 64%. That's because of her presidential run, which affected her number. And that should shock you because Elizabeth Warren was running for president and she still came back to Massachusetts more than Ed Markey. Ed Markey only comes back 30% of the time, and that really affects it because according to the government watchdog group, he only comes back for major events, campaign events, fundraising events, which, by the way, he did a ton of that were with kind of shady characters in this election.
What are some of the Ed Markey? What are some of the fundraising events? I would like to hear more about this.
Well, one of them supposedly was with a Pfizer person, and Richard Neal was present at that.
Okay, I'm gonna Google that right now. So
yeah, please search it up. I heard about that.
Yeah.
I did not hear about that from the campaign. You're going to laugh at where I heard about this. I heard about that while I was calling someone. They said they didn't like that they saw Markey on the news with Richard Neal in regards to being at a Pfizer fundraising event. Now, in regards to the other reason why Kennedy's running, it's mainly because he wants to have community bonds. Markey lacks that. Markey has not come to Western Massachusetts unless it's an election time year. He's actually really
honestly, I don't see why. But really, the question I think that you have yet to answer is where is Kennedy going to be more progressive? Because if you, as you say, there's all these holes. If I could just finish.
Bank regulation.
If I could just finish. There's all these holes in these record, but I mean, someone who's been, relatively following the race, not as much as you and Chase have, but relatively following the race, I haven't heard, if this is something that, is clear, what are the biggest things that have happened so far in the campaign, right? You have online supporters scandal, which, that's not policy related. That's not that doesn't convey to me Ed Markey is a Republican, as you say. He's not.
Yes.
He is. If you think that that's perfectly fine. But Kennedy was not running that kind of campaign. He just wasn't. He wasn't running to. He was clearly running to Markey's right all throughout.
I disagree.
I don't
because
like,
he did attack Markey on the bank regulation, and the other
did
thing
he mention it like once or
no,
like,
multiple times in debates. He also mentioned the Iraq War vote, and also the fact of the matter, the question you asked about where Markey would be less. I mean, Kennedy would be more progressive. Kennedy would be much more progressive on bank regulation because he already showed that in his record. He literally voted against the repeal, while Markey voted for the repeal of the Dodd-Frank Act. The Dodd-Frank Act may sound like one little thing. That is a major bank regulation in this country. That is like the godfather of bank regulation. And the fact that Markey voted to repeal it, and also on top of that, had the audacity to not even vote for it when it first came out, which was years ago. I don't remember what year that was, but from what I saw, that Markey did vote
I believe
against.
that was under the Obama administration, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you might be right there. And I know that he voted against it, though. And the other thing as well to mention is that the fact of the matter is when we look at where Markey is getting in regards to telecommunications money, did you know that Markey is making
industries here? We could do.
Yeah. Did you know that Markey is
lawyers? Some real estate money I'm seeing here. Leadership.
Did you know that Markey is receiving $250,000? He received from a telecommunications executive, and that was all.
Do we know who
during
that is?
His primary. No, I don't know who that is exactly. Let me search it up actually.
And does he know who? Like, is he the type of guy like who's going to be one of those people who's going in those big money fundraisers and?
Oh, definitely. I mean, he did it with Neil. He did one with Richard Neil.
But is that like a confirmed news event, or is that just something that you heard?
Well, that's something that I heard, but let me search it up again because I thought I found something about him receiving money from Pfizer on the Open Secrets.
Yeah, if that could be something that you like, yeah, I would be interested to see that. But it does seem that Markey is in the driver's seat, doing very, very well in the more working class areas of Western Massachusetts and the more poorer areas where.
Actually, Markey and Kennedy are doing pretty well in both areas. Actually, I'd argue.
I'm looking at the maps right here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map right now.
Markey is winning in kind of the bottom, the bottom west of Massachusetts, like Great Barrington, where all those results have come in.
Well, that's the Berkshires.
Yeah.
So that's not really poor. That's kind of wealthy.
That's kind of the more isn't I thought Western Massachusetts was very rural all through.
Yeah, no, Western Massachusetts, Northern Western is, which is kind of split between Kennedy and Mark. I don't actually have to let me click on the counties.
It's a little less. I mean, much more of Kennedy's support is coming from kind of the more
the South area.
Yeah, the South.
Oxford
it
side.
seems like
the Capes have not come in yet. The Capes are definitely going to be a stronghold for Kennedy, without a doubt. Well, what the heck? Nantucket race is 100%, and Markey won that by just a couple hundred votes. I think 400, if I'm correct. Let me look at Markey here.
I don't know too much about the individual towns of Massachusetts. This is a great. If you ever want to follow elections, I highly recommend to anyone out there go check out Decision Desk HQ election results. Like they're very like by town breakdowns and stuff like that. Very good.
Well, Markey received $20,000 from Dish Network, and to give a comparison, Dish typically donates to Republicans. 51% of their donations were given to Republicans, while 46, according to Open Secrets, are given to Democrats. So it seems like my hypothesis of Markey being a Republican actually was that. No, I'm joking. That's just one thing. So.
Let's see. The Dish. What is that under? What's that under?
That's under contributors. I just went under. It's number 19 to be exact. And they actually gave it under a PAC by $7,500, which, by the way, I believe is the limit in Massachusetts for
$7,500 for the PAC, and then a lot of the money is a lot of just people that work at Dish, though.
Some, yeah.
Yeah, that's $11,000.
But that may also be
that's most of the money that he received from Dish is.
Yeah, that may be executives,
individuals.
Though.
But you can't say that for sure. Like Harvard University, that's his number one contributor.
Yeah, that I know. Yeah. Well,
what's
obviously.
Democracy Engine? I don't know about that.
I don't know what
Apollo
that is.
Global Management, Alphabet Inc. I don't think if you're looking at individual contributions, I don't think that's a very I don't unless that's from executives. Or maybe some sort of, and also the thing about
Spencer. I mean,
also the thing about you have to, and Kennedy may be better on PACs, but here's the other thing: bundling. You can't forget about bundling. That's a big
Yeah,
way.
Markey is big on
That's a big way.
bundling.
People like Pete, who I have to say, Joe Kennedy reminds me a lot of with the way he's
No,
running his
no,
campaign, kind of a
not at all.